consecrating them.
Okay. Okay, then why did the early church heavily prioritize apostolic succession for the first 1500 years?
Yeah, well, I think it should be prioritized, and all the people that like ended apostolic succession should
So
probably
wouldn't that
get ordained by
automatically
the bishop.
disqualify your own church?
No, it wouldn't, because mine has apostolic succession. No, didn't
No,
I say that?
no. Who's your
Why
bishop?
doesn't it?
Who's your bishop?
What do you mean? Like the
If you have
because like
apostolic
I'm a
succession,
part of
who's your
two.
bishop?
I'm like a part of two churches.
Who does your bishop trace back to?
Yeah, so I can give you like a whole.
No. I just want an answer.
Yeah, so
Who's your bishop? Who's your bishop? Who ordained them? And who's the person who ordained them in succession from?
What do you mean? I can look it up.
Okay, you don't know apostolic succession.
No,
so
I do. I can give you a genealogy of like apostolic succession if you want me to.
Okay, sure, but you're I'm guessing you're practicing Lutheran, correct?
Yeah.
Which means one of your bishops will eventually trace back to a Roman Catholic bishop, correct?
Yeah.
Going back far enough. Okay.
Yeah.
So Roman Catholic bishops have a thing called apostolic ascension, meaning they do not trace back from an apostle, but they're in communion with an apostolic office. Are you in communion with any apostolic office?
Wait, say that again.
Okay, so Roman Catholic bishops have a thing called apostolic ascension. They don't have succession from the apostles, but they're in communion with an apostolic office that guarantees them their apostolic authority. Are you in communion with any apostolic office?
What's an apostolic office?
Okay, so the church has universally recognized 5 offices: Rome, Jerusalem, Alexandria, Constantinople, and Antioch. Are you in communion with any of the bishops in there?
Well, why should I be?
Because you're saying the Lutheran Church is apostolic. You're saying you have apostolic succession. If you can't trace back to any of those offices, you don't have apostolic succession. Full stop.
Well, we can trace back, but
To
we're
whom?
not in communion
Who?
with them. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't have apostolic succession then?
No, we do. What?
Yeah, if you excommunicate
you
yourself, yeah, if you excommunicate yourself from the one office that gives you apostolic succession, you lose that succession.
We haven't excommunicated ourselves. What?
Yes, you are. You're not. You were excommunicated. You guys were excommunicated by the Roman bishops. That was your only source of apostolic succession.
No, but the Roman bishops don't have like a say on who has apostolic succession and who doesn't.
They
I don't know
absolutely do
where
because they're
even
an apostolic office.
no, like Saint Jerome says that like it doesn't matter.
You mean the same Jerome who said, "Who am I to disobey the office of Peter"?
Okay, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, because you're trying to use Saint Jerome to evade my my press on you. But the thing is, that same Jerome emphasized submission to the apostolic authority of Peter.
Yeah, but the apostolic authority of Peter fell away.
Has gone away. To whom? Where's your basis for that?
Mean? Like,
where's your basis for that? What's your evidence?
I'm saying that it's teaching wrong doctrine. That therefore it's as follows.
To whose authority?
Can I like Saint Jerome? Wherever there is a bishop, whether it be at Rome or Angubium, whether it be at Constantinople or Rhegium, whether it be at Alexandria or Zoan, his dignity is one and his priesthood is one. Neither the command of or the loneliness of poverty makes him more a bishop or less a bishop. All
Okay, so
the-
that seems to be an evasion from the actual topic.
How?
You made the positive claim that you have apostolic succession, but you keep pivoting to things like, oh, apostolic succession doesn't matter, and all we need is this, and that.
Huh? When did I say it doesn't matter?
Just like right now, you're arguing against it, mate. Like,
I'm arguing against like your idea of apostolic ascension. I don't know
okay,
where you're getting that
define
from.
apostolic succession. Define apostolic succession.
Yeah, that you can trace a line back to the apostles through.
Okay, do you need to be in communion with that office to still have that succession?
No,
Okay, so
because like yeah, sorry, go on.
so it's not exactly succession if you've been thrown away from that same office, wouldn't it?
Well, we haven't been thrown away.
You have. You were excommunicated. Luther was excommunicated.
Okay, yeah, but like the primate of Sweden, like,
Mate,
or
you're a
what do you mean?
confessional Lutheran. Your authority traces to Martin Luther.
No, what? No, I
Uh,
don't know.
yes.
Do you want me
You're
to give a
Lutheran. You're named
genealogy?
after.
Do you want me to give you a genealogy of?
Oh no,
every bishop?
I can grant that you'll at one point trace back to a Roman Catholic bishop. That's the truth for all Anglican and Lutheran bishops. However, apostolic succession, as defined by the early church, was you must not only trace back from that line, but you must also still be in communion with that office.
Your church doesn't even hold to that because it recognizes like old Catholic ordinations and stuff.
Old Catholic was that? You mean the same old Catholics that didn't pop around until like Vatican I?
Yeah, those.
You mean the same old Catholics who can't trace back to any historical office?
Your okay, yeah. Can I speak? Okay, yeah. So your church recognizes that they have apostolic succession, by the way.
What's the evidence for that?
Do you want me to bring up like? Yeah, sure. Hmm.
Can't find it, huh?
Wait, dude. You have some patience, please. Okay, yeah. Reading like Catholic answers on this and it's saying that the old Catholic Church is a schismatic communion of churches that broke away from the Catholic Church
Problem.
in the
Okay,
18th
there's
and
that settled
19th
then.
century. It quotes something. Can you like let me speak? Because you keep like interrupting over the issue of papal authority because its bishop had been validly ordained. They retained the ability to ordain other bishops and priests. This was confirmed on January 3rd, 1987 by the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith. And here's the quote. Among the churches which are in the same situation as the Oriental churches named in England, we include the old Catholic churches in Europe, the Polish National Church in the United States of America.
Okay, but that's just going to suppose I'll take Catholic answers as authoritative. Can you find me an actual Catholic statement?
I just read you the.
No, you read me
statement.
Catholic answers. You read me an article from Catholic answers. They're not authoritative.
No, but they're quoting.
Quoting what?
I don't know how to read this. I can type it in because it's like. Oh, wait. Let me see if there's. It's short for something. Okay, it's by the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith, prot dot no dot 795 slash 68. And I don't know how to read this quotation, but it's
How
quoting,
convenient.
it's quoting a
Yeah, I put Berlin
document
up. He
from
wants
the
to say
congregation.
something.
You are so goddamn pathetic.
Wait, yeah, Eternal Shores, right? You know, you have my blue app, right? Just send it to me. I'll send it to Ozcat here.
Okay, sure.
Okay, Ozcat, check side chat.
So,
just as a question, do you know who the Valentinians are?
Yeah, or kind of. It's aren't they
Yes,
like a
very.
Gnostic group? Or...
Yes. Do you know what they have? They could trace back they could trace their authority back to an apostle. Would you say they too have valid apostolic succession?
Well, I don't know. I don't think that's decision really. But like
They don't have valid succession.
I didn't say that. Probably not, because they're heretics since they reject.
So there's a criteria. So
yeah,
there's a criteria to what defines succession. What would it be then?
Probably like the ecumenical councils, and at least like the.
At least
up until like the Orientals, because you accept their apostolic succession as well. So you just hold to.
Yes, but the thing is, the Orientals also are still in submission to those same apostolic officers. They still have Alexandria and Antioch.
No, but you don't track. Okay, yeah. So
I'm not tracking. Okay, so let's get this straight. So you are not. Let's go through this together. All right. You acknowledge the Valentinians. Do you know who the Basildinians are?
yeah, they're like saying that the Holy Spirit does not god, right?
Correct.
Macedonian.
So they also can trace back to sorry, it's late at night. They can also trace their authority back to Peter through Glacius and Matthias. So would you say they also have apostolic succession?
No, but again,
Okay, so
they
we
don't
both can agree
submit
that
to
there is
the
a certain
first-
criteria.
Yeah, they don't hold to like the first 3 ecumenical.
Okay, but
councils.
that creates another issue too, because to accept those councils, you also need to submit to the authority of those councils, which Protestants do not.
We don't. Well, we're not obligated.
You don't.
But
Okay, so you condemn your own church then? I mean, debate's
No.
over.
No.
Yeah, mate. Okay. Let's go through this again. So we both agree that there is a criteria to what defines a valid apostolic group, if you will, and then we both agree that you must submit to at least Ephesians to actually have valid
Yeah, and the
apostolic succession.
Protestant churches.
But then
do
you
that.
followed. But you followed. Then you're not obligated to.
We follow.
But you notice how that creates a contradiction in your own paradigm, right?
I said we have to follow the teachings of them.
Do you?
Yeah, we do.
So, okay, so in Canon
the
4,
first
so in Canon 4 of Ephesians, it says that we must submit to the faith and authority of the Nicene Fathers. That includes Alexander of Alexandria and Athanasius. Do you submit to the same office therein?
Where do you get the office from?
Episcopate. If we're submitted to the Nicene Episcopate as Canon 4 of Ephesians says, then are you in submission to those episcopates?
What's the Nicene Episcopate?
Yeah, so the episcopate of the Nicene Fathers, in this case, Alexander of Alexandria and Athanasius, they'll be both in Alexandria. Are you in succession to Alexandria?
No, or what? No.
Okay. So you're saying, okay,
We're not.
We at least accept the faith of that council, but the faith of that council also says you must submit to these guys.
Yeah.
What about Canon 6 of Nicaea, which says that which compares the authority of Rome to greater than Alexandria and Antioch?
Okay. So.
Okay, can you track? You're saying we must. You're saying what defines as valid apostolic succession is you must trace back to an apostle, which for the sake of the argument, I'll grant you that. But then you'll say you must also submit to the faith of at least the first 3 ecumenical councils. But these 3 ecumenical councils are emphasizing submission and succession from those same officers, which you agreed you're not in submission to.
We're not in communion to.
Okay, so you don't have apostolic succession.
Again, this like this doesn't really answer my other question about like the old Catholics. They're not in communion with.
I don't think those
either.
guys have apostolic succession either. They're schismatics. I could care less about them. However, the case here is, does the Lutheran Church have apostolic succession? Which, yeah, I proved otherwise.
No, you didn't. Though.
Yeah, yes, I did. Yes, I did. You agreed to the conclusion I made that you guys aren't in submission or communion with those officers.
Yeah. We're not in communion.
Okay, so you don't have apostolic succession.
Primates. We're not in communion with the primates of Rome, Alexandria, Constantinople, or Antioch.
Okay, so So according to those three ecumenical councils, you say that we must accept. You're still outside of that church. You do not have succession.
That's not what your church says.
It is what our church says. Council of Florence, Constance, the Lateran Councils, Vatican I.
So you're saying that your church contradicts itself?
No, it doesn't contradict itself because we actually have continuity with those bishops, with those officers.
So does the old Catholics have apostolic succession?
No, because they're in schism. They don't. They're not in submission with Rome.
Okay. And again,
And okay,
didn't you get the quote?
Do you know what?
Did you get the quote?
Yes, Berlin sent it to me, but that's not the topic at hand. Okay, so under this paradigm, now that we both agreed that apostolic succession must be in continuity and submission with that bishop, and then you said you don't have.
When did I say it had to be?
Okay. So you said you said the Lutherans. So you said what defines as valid apostolic succession is you have to be in submission to those first three ecumenical councils. Those three ecumenical councils. Okay, they also teach, according to Canon 4 of Ephesus, Canon 7 of Ephesus, and Canon 6 of Nicaea, that you must be in submission to those apostolic offices, which you admitted you're not.
Where does it do that? Give a specific.
Canon, I literally did. Canon 6 of Nicaea, Canon 7 of Ephesus. But yeah, so you acknowledge that you don't have these things, and then okay, he leaves.